Disinformation is an extremely powerful tool. When combined with gendered narratives, it becomes a weapon to discredit and marginalize women. In Bulgaria, two beauty queens, Elizabeth Kravets and Yulia Pavlikova, have become striking examples of how disinformation can be selectively weaponized for political purposes. Elizabeth Kravets, Miss Varna 2023, is a Bulgarian woman with Ukrainian heritage. Despite her mother being Bulgarian, living there her entire life and speaking the language fluently, she became the target of a disinformation campaign. Pro-Russian factions in Bulgaria, as well as Russian-leaning politicians, questioned her right to represent the country, claiming her victory was due to the strong American influence that is trying to push pro-Ukrainian agenda. The actual narrative, however, pushed by these groups was clear. Elizabeth's Ukrainian roots made her unworthy of her title, reflecting a larger strategy to discredit Ukrainian identities. Elizabeth faced a storm of online abuse. She was accused of being part of a broader conspiracy, and her heritage was weaponized against her to suggest that Bulgaria was losing its own identity. The scrutiny became so intense that even her Miss Bulgaria title was revoked, allegedly due to a technicality, but with no official evidence that supports this claim. An example of weaponized disinformation against Ms. Kravets were multiple articles quoting a council member from the Varna municipality saying, "A Ukrainian became Miss Varna." Is there no residency requirement here that any random person funded by the state budget is allowed to participate? The council member pushed a narrative that Elizabeth is not a citizen of Bulgaria, which in fact she is, as well as saying that she receives support from the refugee agency, which is also untrue. A striking difference can be seen when Elizabeth's case is juxtaposed with Yulia Pavlikova, who represented Bulgaria in the Miss Universe 2023 competition. Born in Crimea, Yulia has never lived in Bulgaria, can't speak Bulgarian, and identifies as Russian. She holds the record for the most titled woman in Russia, yet her selection went largely unnoticed and unchallenged. Despite her vocal support for Kremlin propaganda and questionable ties, she faced absolutely no backlash from the same pro-Russian factions that attacked Elizabeth. She can even be quoted supporting conspiracy theories from the Kremlin about the deadly nature of COVID-19 vaccines, demonstrating her ties and influence to and from Russia. However, Yulia's Russian connections and her obvious alignment with Kremlin were not criticized, revealing a stark double standard. The lack of condemnation from Bulgarian nationalists highlights the selective nature of disinformation. Because of this example, it is seen that it is not about nationality, but about advancing specific political agendas. Adding another layer to this complex story is the organization behind these beauty contests. The company responsible for selecting the winners, although registered in Bulgaria, has significant Russian connections. The previous manager of this company was sentenced by the Supreme Judicial Court to 1.5 years in prison for involvement in organized criminal groups linked to human trafficking for sexual exploitation. Despite his imprisonment, his profile remains on the company's website. Moreover, Yulia Pavlikova herself now heads another company that organizes beauty pageants in Estonia. Since May 2024, Miss Universe Estonia, further intertwining the narrative of Russian influence and exploitation in these contests in the post-socialist space. These two cases illustrate the deeply rooted gendered and political biases in how disinformation is deployed. Elizabeth was vilified for her Ukrainian background, while Yulia was embraced for her Russian identity despite her minimal connection to Bulgaria. The Kremlin's disinformation strategy exploits these narratives, fueling division and hatred, particularly against those with intersecting identities.